right, folks, we're kicking it old school today. I remember back when I was in my freshman year of college, which was the year 1989, 1990. I remember that there was a shooting at a place called Perimeter Mall, which is in Atlanta. It's still there today. And as the name suggests, it's located right on the perimeter, which is I-285. It's the big road that goes all the way around the city. So I just remembered this incident, and I thought I would dig a little, and because I remembered hearing things about it, and I remembered hearing that there were some peculiarities to it. And today we, or some of us anyway, look a little bit askance at incidents like this and wonder if there's more going on than they're telling us. But back in 1990, you didn't really have anybody thinking that way. People didn't really think of somebody who went on a mass shooting spree as anything else but a nut, and just somebody who's sick in the head, and that's all there is to it. But as we'll see with this story, that's not all there is to it. And there are at least a couple of peculiarities to this story that I want to linger on for just a moment. All right, so let's look at this. This is in the LA Times for some reason. I mean, everything that I found, there was one story from the New York Times, one from the LA Times, and an AP story. For some reason, there was nothing from any Atlanta paper that was archived here. Now, this is 1990, before the internet, way before social media. We're talking old school here, okay? And I was a young man at the time. But I just remembered hearing about this. Well, I mean, it was sort of a sensational event, but there were also things about the shooter that were peculiar, that stood out. Okay, so let's just read what this story from the LA Times says. A smiling gunman who was released from a mental hospital despite alleged homicidal and suicidal tendencies opened fire in the food court of a suburban shopping mall Tuesday, killing one man and wounding 4 people. This is a mall that I'd been to several times. It was a mall that I knew well. The gunman, identified as James Calvin Brady, 31, started to reload a .38 caliber revolver, but then tossed it into a trash can before calmly walking out and surrendering. Police said. He held his hands up and said, "I'm the one you're looking for," said Police Colonel M.F. Ferguson. That's kind of a strange thing to say. I mean, I guess it's true that he's the one they're looking for, but it's a strange way of putting it. So this, I don't think that this information, this detail, I don't think is revealed here, but he's dressed like a businessman. Okay, that we'll find out in a second. So there are a couple of strange things. He's smiling. He's dressed as a businessman, and there's some more details which we'll find out more about in a minute. Let me just see if there's anything else. So there's from this article that can be gleaned. So a document was found in Brady's pocket. Strange that he would have this document just on his person, in his pocket, that said that he was released Monday from Georgia Regional Hospital in Atlanta. The document said he had homicidal and suicidal tendencies and suffered from delusions. So let's let him. Let's he's obviously fit to be released from the mental hospital. I can't help but laugh at that. It's my gallows humor. You kind of wonder what the story is there. Why do they release a man if he has homicidal and suicidal tendencies, and why does he have this document on his person in his pocket? That's odd. Okay, so some witnesses. He just walked in and started shooting, said Carol Gravdahl. Blah blah blah. His right arm was straight out with a pistol, shooting it off randomly. He was coming around with it until I guess he emptied it, and he was smiling. Okay, and the one fatal victim was 24-year-old Michael Gregory Music, which I saw spelled differently elsewhere, who died later from a chest wound. So 1 dead, 4 injured. The shooter is somebody who had just been released from a mental hospital the day before, and he's got a document in his pocket saying that he has homicidal and suicidal tendencies. Okay, so it gets more interesting. Let's go to this there was sparse information regarding this event, because it happened so long ago, and these are all just archived articles. So shooting at Perimeter Mall in Atlanta. This is somebody writing about Kimber Vance. I don't know if that's a man or a woman. But he or she says, I was there that day. And this is something that he or she wrote about a year ago, it says, on this site, an archive, alt true crime. I was there that day. It was a few months before my 20th birthday. I was at the mall picking up my eyeglasses. They weren't ready. So I started to wander down to the food court. All of a sudden, ladies with shopping bags were running toward me. They went into Macy's and shut the doors. Being curious and dumb, I went to the food court. Most of it took place in front of Taco Bell. I vividly remember stepping over a gentleman who seemed as if he were deceased. I was trying to get to a payphone. Yeah, the days of payphones, guys. These are the old days. The dark ages. I was trying to get to a payphone to call my mom, who I knew was there. I didn't want her to hear it from someone else. It was a scary day. Okay, so then we have this. Okay, this is the AP account of what took place on this day, April 25th, 1990. Happens to be the birthday of my best friend. I just noticed that. Okay, a smiling gunman who killed 1 person, wounded 4 in the suburban shopping mall, had been released 36 hours earlier from a mental hospital where he'd been listed as having homicidal tendencies, police say. The man wearing a business suit, so we got that detail here. That was not in the previous article. Wearing a business suit, fired into a lunch hour crowd. What's he doing dressed up? Who dresses up? Who puts on a suit and tie to go to the mall and shoot a bunch of people? That's strange. The fact that he's got the document in his pocket that says he's got homicidal and suicidal tendencies and was discharged from the mental hospital yesterday. That's also strange. So oddities are piling up here. The same detail about he was firing 38 caliber revolver, and then a new detail. He surrendered apparently at the urging of an elderly man. Authorities said. That's interesting. He was going to reload, but an elderly man talked him out of it, according to this story. You don't know what all these people have done to me, James Calvin Brady, 31, was said by authorities to have muttered as he was led away. Now, this is interesting because I remember at the time, hearing from a friend that the guy had said something like, "You just don't understand how I feel." I guess this is what he was referring to. But I remember it was verbatim from this friend of mine's memory that the guy had said, this James Calvin Brady person had said, "You just don't understand how I feel." So unless this is the Mandela effect, I think he was maybe just misremembering what he read in this article. You don't know what all these people have done to me. That's an interesting thing to say. Now, if he's just crazy, then crazy and delusional, and schizophrenic, then maybe it just means he just has this elaborate paranoid idea of that has no relationship to reality. But I would want to verify that. I wouldn't want to just take that for granted, as I think just about everybody did at the time. But now we're a little bit wiser, aren't we? Now we're a little bit more discerning, given the powers that be and what they are capable of. So he was charged with murder and 4 counts of aggravated assault and jailed without bail. 2 of the wounded were listed in critical condition. Here's another interesting moment. All right, I would highlight this if I could. During questioning, Brady talked of God and a, quote, mechanical device inside him that controls his actions, police said. He's suffering from hallucinations. He was probably having one when he fired, said Colonel M.F. Motherfucker Ferguson. Sorry. So he talked of God and a mechanical device inside him. I had heard, again, this is from my memory, I had heard that he had specifically mentioned a chip. Again, this is, this is a long, long time ago. This is over 30 years ago. People didn't talk about chips as much back then, or, getting chipped or having a chip put in your brain. Which, people still think that's crazy talk right now. But chipping technology is real. It's very real. So, and it might have been, that technology might have existed at the time. But but here he just says a mechanical device that controls his actions. And the way that it's kind of bad faith, the way this article phrases it. During questioning, Brady talked of God and a mechanical device. It's like they're trying to make him sound as crazy, schizophrenic, and nutso as they possibly can. What did he say about God? Maybe he's just said, "God forgive me," or something like that, or that's just kind of vague. It's very vague. So again, he says, "You don't know what all these people have done to me." And here he talks about having a mechanical device, which I remember being characterized as a chip. Here they don't use the word chip, but back then chip didn't really mean that much. As it wouldn't have the same kind of ramifications that it does today. Again, a document found in Brady's pocket said he was released Monday from Georgia Regional Hospital. He was admitted to the state hospital on April 13th, but the document did not say why he was released. Governor Joe Frank Harris. I remember we had a radio guy named Neil Bortz who called him Slow Frank Harris. Kind of a dumb joke, but so that's just what I think of here. Governor Slow Frank Harris said today that the reason for Brady's release was under investigation, but it was not due to overcrowding at the mental hospital. The state is sincere in trying to do everything it can to prevent something like this from happening. Well, they didn't prevent this from happening, so much for that plan. In this case, I think it was being done. What do you mean it didn't get done? He was released and then he shot a bunch of people and killed one person. So Ferguson, Brady can be hostile, threatening, and has a history of alcohol abuse. So the spokesman for the State Department of Human Resources, which runs the state hospital, said the department would not comment on any patient. Okay. How did he get the gun? Why did he get the gun? I heard that he bought it from a pawn shop. But this detective kind of has a moment of drama. Really, we don't have a good answer to that, and we may never know why. Well, he probably just went to a pawn shop and bought it there because it was legal to purchase firearms in the state of Georgia. Okay, so then they try to make this into a gun control issue, blah, blah, blah. Once inside the food, let's see if there's any more here that's of interest. Once inside the mall's food court, Brady appeared to fire at random, police and witnesses said. He looked like a businessman with his left hand in his pants pocket. I think we heard from this lady before. His right arm was straight out with a pistol, shooting it off randomly. He was coming around with it until I guess he emptied it and he was smiling. Yeah, we heard that quote before, but it's very helpful, very descriptive. So they list off the names of all of his victims, and then there's the details of James Calvin Brady. Black male, height 5'7", weight 166. So there you go. And I've tried to find out what happened to him since then. Is he still incarcerated? Is he still alive? I've typed in the name James Calvin Brady, Atlanta shooting, tried all different configurations of searches and haven't been able to come up with anything. So again, if I were to say write a story loosely based on these events, I would wonder about the possibility of certain things. We know that MK Ultra technology exists. We know that this guy, this James Calvin Brady seems to be a marginalized figure, mentally unstable. He's in an institution. Who is going to? I mean, that's the perfect cover, isn't it? If you want to test out some device, some mind control device to see if it would work, because there's no history. He has no history of violence prior to this that we know of. They say he can be belligerent, but belligerence is one thing. Shooting a bunch of people with a smile, a bunch of strangers with a smile on your face, while you're dressed in a business suit, that's a little bit different than just belligerence. Again, it's the difference between, if Dan Rather had been attacked by some schizophrenic nut, on the streets of New York, some homeless guy, that would have been more understandable. But two well-dressed men beating him up and asking him this cryptic question, that's odd. In this case, this guy saying, "You don't know what these people have done to me." We were prone to dismiss that statement. I think many still would be prone to dismiss that statement as him just being paranoid and spouting a bunch of gobbledygook. They would say the same thing about the device or chip, as I swear I heard it called at the time. I was on the periphery of this whole thing. I lived in Atlanta, heard about this event. I'd been to the mall several times, so it was a pretty sensational thing. So today we would look askance at that. Some of us would, anyway, and wonder what the deal is with this guy being discharged from a mental institution, saying that he has a device placed in him that's helping to control his mind and direct his actions. I don't know. I think it's strange. So, just a little bit of a retro conspiracy there for y'all. Hope you enjoyed it. Talk to y'all soon.